This is the most amazing clothes hanger I've ever seen. A few months ago, I called someone that called someone else that typed a message, and that got me to talk to the Rokoko people. And Rokoko makes this beautiful suit that you wear, you put on the gloves, you press some buttons, and then you can act and do anything you want, and that gets recorded in a rig, an animation rig, which then you can use for your game assets to do all sorts of things, for your visual effects, movies, and you can animate things, retarget stuff. Anyway, you can use it in any way that you would use any animated character. And I have the honor and privilege of looking inside the boxes, pressing those buttons, and start making some stuff that's fun. I look like a superhero. I feel like a superhero. My motions are going to be put inside a computer, and then I can animate any character. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm wearing the gloves and the suit. They come separate, and they connect using USB connections. The suit is going to be connected to one power bank, and then you just connect to a Wi-Fi and run the software, and it records all your motions. So I've got my suit on. I haven't calibrated yet, although I did a calibration earlier, so it seems to be working quite fine. Now, this is the real-time feedback I'm getting from Rokoko Studio. And I've written 6 lines of dialogue, and I have a microphone next to my mouth. It moves with me, so the volume doesn't change. And now the process is, first of all, I'm going to go to my computer mouse and I'm going to do a calibration. Click on this, stand back, hands down, and now the suit is calibrated. Now you can see that the hand motions and the body motion is captured quite accurately. I'm not going to do any walking during my performance. I will only be doing some dialogue and hand movement and a bit of body swaying just to portray some emotion. So now I have to walk up to my mouse and I need to press the record button, and I'm going to perform the dialogue after a couple of seconds. So click, stand back, and let me start performing. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not human, but I speak like a human. I am not an android, but I look like an android. What does that make me? I let you determine that. Have a nice day. I've done with my capture. I'm going to go here and click on this to stop the capturing. It's going to do some shenanigans there. And let me double click on this, and you will see that it's processing the filters. Now I'm going to go through the process. This is not me now. This is the recorded capture you're looking at. So the next stage is to actually go and capture my facial performance using a third-party application I have on my iPhone. So let's go and do that. Although Rokoko Studio comes with an iPhone app for face capture, I'm using an application I purchased called FaceCap, and that's why you're seeing that and not my actual face, although I look much better. So I'm going to start recording the same performance I did with the bodysuit, and although I could have done both those things in one go, I'm just going to do them separately so I can have a bit more control. So without further ado, I'm going to click the record and do my performance. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not a human, but I speak like a human. I am not an android, but I look like an android. What does that make me? I'll let you determine that. Have a nice day. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to stop the recording. And now I'm going to transfer the data into Cinema 4D. I'm going to go and fix any potential issues with my Rokoko capture, which I don't think there are going to be any. And later on, we're going to combine these two data captures to create a movie that includes my facial capture, my recording, the one you heard right now, which is done with a proper good microphone, and the performance I did with the suit. When you're done with your face capture, all you have to do is export it and then email it to yourself. And I have it on my hard drive. Here is Cinema 4D. I'm going to open project, and here it is. I'm going to open. Now, just get the default settings. You don't need to change anything over there. And you'll see that nothing is really visible. And the reason is, for some odd purpose, the scale of the parent null that everything else is underneath, with the head and the model and all that, happens to be in 1/100th scale. And all you have to do is just set these to 1, and then go here, click and press H. And now we have our face, which is fully animated, and here's the capture. So at this point, I have 3 sources of data. I have the audio, which I can choose either that original audio I got when I was performing with a suit, or the audio I was using when I was performing for my face. It's the same dialogue and pretty much the same pacing, so it's up to me to make either of those work. The second data source is the body capture, and the third data source is the face capture. Now, as far as the face capture, I think we're done for the moment. We're going to adjust scales and stuff like that. I'm going to use this model, and in a later tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can take these morphs that come from FaceCap or from other software that catches your face, and how you can use them to rig up your own face, your own model, your own character, and you can take advantage of these percentages. Now, there's a very particular way that iOS delivers the data for the face and the morphs. We're going to talk about that in another video dedicated to this, because there's some nuance into it. The only thing I need to do now is go to my Rokoko Studio application and clean up the data if necessary, and export it so I can bring everything into Cinema 4D and start doing some fancy stuff. So here we are in Rokoko Studio, and for details about setting up the suit and all that nice stuff, you can go to Rokoko's YouTube channel, where my friend Sam Lazarus, a really great guy, has made some fantastic tutorials about this. So I'm just going to fast track through this. This is not a really difficult capture to deal with. So we have take 1, and you can see that's me. I'm going to use the whole thing, and if I want to cut things out, I'm going to do that inside Cinema 4D, so we can take advantage of some of the tools. Now, you can see that there's a bit of sliding on the feet over here and stuff like that, but because I don't have a lot of walking around, the process will be much simpler than if you do actually walk around. But all this information resides in Sam's tutorials. So go YouTube, search for Rokoko, go to their channel, and I think the first featured videos, 4 videos, will tell you what's in the box and how to set things up with the software. What I found was that it took me about 30 to 35 minutes to do all the necessary stuff in the beginning, and then all I have to do is just turn the suit on, providing my battery is charged, because I did forget to charge my batteries, and it doesn't work without batteries. Those are the perks of electricity. So now, everything you've seen, I think this video is approaching the 8-9 minute mark. Everything else is pretty much in real time. You put the suit on, you do your performance, you record it, and let's see how long it takes after the recording to get it into Cinema 4D. So there are some tools over here, which are called playback filters. You click on this, and the one I need to do is to activate is the foot IK. And you turn this on, and basically it says process changes. You click on this, and it's processing the filters, and it makes sure that the feet are planted. There's no more drift anymore. What I find fascinating about Rokoko Studio is that it has some really intelligent automations in there. And for a large number of your performances, you may just have to click that one button, okay? Because I'm going to remove, if you see any problem here where the knees come into contact, I'm not going to use this. And I'm not going to use the beginning where I'm leaning over. So I didn't need to fix it, really. So at this point, my capture is ready. I didn't really need to do anything. So let's export this in a Mixamo rig, because it does have various ways of exporting. So you just go to the take, you right click, and you say export. And here in the export, I can choose the format. FBX is my chosen one. And I want the Mixamo skeleton rig, because most of our motion captures inside Cinema 4D in the asset manager are Mixamo rigs, and you can mix and match with other Mixamo rigs. Mix with Mixamo. See what I did there? Anyway, you can even choose the FPS, and I'm going to show you a way how you can take your 100 frames per second, if you need this granularity and the detail, and just bake it down to 30 frames per second, or you can just set this to 30 and you're good. But anyhow, just to add a bit more information to the video, I'm going to leave it at 100 frames per second, and I'm going to go and select a place to save this. It will bring up the worst browser ever conceived by any human and alien alike. And I'm going to press OK after I select my folder. And then I'm going to click on the export button. It will process the filters and then export an FBX file. There you go. It's exporting. Excellent. I think we're done in Rokoko Studio. So let's bring everything inside Cinema 4D now. So here's the FBX file. I'm just going to drag it inside Cinema 4D and click OK. Wait a couple of seconds so Cinema 4D reads the actual FBX. It will take a few more seconds. There you go. And here it is. And you can see we have 2,985 frames. The reason is that if you go to the project settings, this is 100 frames per second. So we need to do something about this, because there's too much detail. There are 3 times more keyframes in this than we actually need. So let's go to the timeline and see what's going on. So the timeline is on my other screen. I'm going to drag it over. And what you will see is that there is one value for each and every one of the objects on each of these frames. Now, the good thing with Cinema 4D's timeline is that it's time-based. It's not frame-based. The frames per second is a subdivision of time, and the time is the second. The main unit of time is the second, as we already know. No one asks you, what time is it, for you to reply 365 frames before midnight or something like that. No. And then they will ask you, is that 30 FPS, 29.97, 24? You know, that causes all sorts of problems. You can use proper time. In order to get this project to be at 30 frames per second, the simplest way is to go to the FPS in your project settings and set it to 30. And watch what's going to happen in the timeline. 30, press enter. Now you can see that the frames are overlapping, because a second is still a second, but now each subdivision of a second contains more than one frame, because previously we had 100 subdivisions for every second. Now we have 30. Which means that we have 3.3 frames for each of the new frames. Look at that. That's one frame, and it has 3 point, and this is a third of a frame. Anyhow, how do we fix this? Well, this is fairly simple. What I'm going to do is go and select this, and I unfolded it because I want you to see that it selects everything. And then you're going to go to Functions and go to the Bake Objects. The settings you need to set here are the following. You need to create a copy, because we want a new hierarchy, a new rig. I want to bake the positions and rotations, no animated parameters, because we don't have any parameters that are animated. Only position and rotation is. We want clean tracks. And there are no tags, so these don't make any difference. And there are no expressions. So if I press OK now, I'm going to get a second rig where each of these is one frame, which is exactly what we want. And the values are correct, actually. It's going to find exactly what was the value at frame 1, regardless of how many subframes this had, and it's going to put it in that frame. So the motion is going to be identical. So you can go now and just delete the original one, and now we have a rig at 30 frames per second with a document frames per second of 30, so everything should align without a problem. So let's go here and see this. Yep, there you go. Everything plays fine. And now we have about 3.3 times fewer frames. So 895.5, and that's because we can't divide exactly 100 by 30. It's 3.33333 and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't really matter because we're going to remove a lot of these frames. Talking about removal of frames, let's go and do that. So I'm going to bring up my timeline one more time. It always pops up on my other screen, but I don't really mind. Oh, one thing I'd like you to observe is that at frame 0, we have a T-pose. And that's the default way that Rokoko Studio exports any of the rigs. And that's so that it will allow you to align it with other Mixamo rigs. So that's a great little detail that helps immensely. So I'm going to drag this until I get to the point where I realize that my actual performance starts. You can see I'm raising my hands here. Now, one good thing you could do, which I didn't do in this particular one, is align the audio, because the audio drives the performance, what I was saying. I'm going to bring in the video of the capture, including the sound, so that we can align these things. I took a screen capture of the actual recording when I was doing my performance capture over here, and here it is. So this is a movie, and I'm going to import this inside Cinema 4D alongside the sound so I can start aligning things together. So here we have our rig, and let's go and load the animation. To do that, I need to go and create a standard material, double click on the material, and I'm just going to activate the luminance and go and load in the luminance the movie itself. Let's select it and press open. Just say no, we don't need this in a specific path. And I'm going to click on thumbnail, and in the animation tab here, you will see that all the frames have been loaded. Excellent. Now, the one thing we do need to do is go to the viewport settings for this material and activate animate preview and set the texture preview size to no scaling so we get the full resolution. So the material is ready and it's going to animate. All we need is somewhere to put it, and that will be a plane on the -Z. I'm going to make it 160 by 90, which is basically 16 by 9 and just one polygon each. And now I can go and scale it if I wish and push it back in the background and drag the material on this, close this, and now you will see that we have perfect alignment of the movie and our rig. And that's good just so that we know what's happening. And we're going to import the sound as well. So let's do that. Add a null and call it sound. And in order to put a sound on any object, we have to open the timeline. So go here and bring the timeline over here and drag it over here. Drag the sound null in the dope sheet summary. Right click, add a special track of type sound. Select the sound and go here and load the sound file. Here it is, select, open, and now if you open this, you'll see the waveform. And there's one more little thing we need to do. There's always one more thing, isn't there? Go over here and make sure that all frames is off. This is on by default. I've turned it off, and if you have all frames, then priority for the viewport is to play every single frame. And if the frames are a bit slower than the sound, then you're going to get the sound not sounding very well. So turn this off, and I don't mind if it skips a couple of frames as long as it plays in real time. And let's rewind and press play and see what happens. Stand back and let me start performing. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not human, but I speak like a human. Excellent. I like how this is going, and I can go ahead and save the file. And now I'm going to bring in the head and try to align the head's animation with the sound. So here's our head, and we fixed the scaling earlier. Now there's one minor issue we need to take care of, and that is the frames per second, because FaceCap delivers 24 frames per second. So we need to do the same trick as earlier to bake this to 30 frames. And there's a slight difference in how we did it with the FBX, and I'm going to explain what it is. So first of all, set it to 30. Good. And now let's go and bring up the timeline, and let me pull it from my other screen, and let me expand this. So let's select this, and what I need to do is bake this to 30 frames per second, which now my timeline is set to. Go to Functions and Bake Objects. Now make sure that all parameters is enabled. That's what you need to do. And for safety reasons, I turned off the remove tags. And you can see the start is 1.25, but I don't really care about that because I am going to move this around so I can align it with the body. Because don't forget that the sound was caught with the face at the same time, but the body performance was a separate take. So I'm going to start cutting and moving stuff around to make sure that those two things align. So let's press OK, give it a few seconds. And there we go. So now I can pull this to my other screen and you can see it's a child of the main null. I can remove this and let's make sure that this is going to talk properly. Excellent. That's fantastic. So now it's time to load the sound over here again and see how things pan out. So let's go and create the null and name it sound. And I'm going to bring up my timeline over here, drag the sound, right click, add special tracks, sound. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to load an actual movie that includes the audio, and the audio will come in, the movie will be ignored. Now, this is a different sound than the one we loaded in the performance capture, because one is aligned with the performance, the other one is aligned with the face capture. And we're going to choose which one of the two we're going to go with, depending on which one we like and so forth. So I'm going to click open. And now you can see we have the timeline here. And because I cut this exactly at the beginning of recording the face, it should align properly. So let me pull this to my other screen and see what we have here. I'm going to make sure that all frames is off. Rewind, press play. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not a human, but I speak like a human. I am not an android, but I look like an android. What does that make me? I'll let you determine that. Have a nice day. And that looks pretty good to me. So what do we have now? Well, we have two separate audios with separate animations. We have the face animation with one audio, and then we have the body performance with another audio. And we need to make a decision which one of the audio we've recorded is the one we are going to use. You can use either, but I'm going to go with this. So this audio and the facial animation, I think is closer to what my creative vision was. And I use that very loosely. So let's go to the actual body capture. And we are going to utilize the non-linear animation system in Cinema 4D, the motion clips. And this is a very powerful but a bit finicky system that allows you to edit as if you're editing in a video editing program. But instead of video, you're editing animation. So to do that, let's first remove the plane. And I want to bring all this hierarchy inside the NLA system. NLA stands for non-linear animation. So select the parent of the hierarchy, go to Animate, and add a motion clip. And this will transfer the data you designate over here. So position and rotation, everything else will pretty much stay as it is, and transfer it into a different context. So the data now doesn't reside in keyframes. Let's see, you can see that whatever I select doesn't have any keyframes anymore. And the values now are driven by the data that's stored in this tag. So what do we do with this? Well, select the tag and open in timeline, or you can open the timeline itself. And I'm going to bring this up and just make sure you click on this button, which is the NLA system. And there you go. So this is a layer that contains all the motion data for this particular rig that has this little tag. And if you have more objects that are part of the NLA system, they're going to appear over here. And generally, you can see hierarchies and all that. We're not going to deal with that at all in this particular tutorial. I'm going to show you just the plan, what we're trying to do. If there's enough interest, I can do some more detailed tutorials about how the system works, although I think that you can find some existing tutorials if you search well enough. Anyhow, so here's what I have. I have this one clip, this one layer, and I want to find all those phrases. The 6 phrases I'm narrating are broken down into 2 segments each. So it says, and let me start performing. Many things in life. Many things in life is phrase 1, part 1. Are not what they seem. That's phrase 1, part 2. So what I want to do is isolate these subphrases. So we're going to have clips here that contain the motion for each and every one of those clips, and then we're going to go and edit them, so to speak, using the other audio. So in order to edit things, you need to hover over your layer, right-click, and activate the Cut Connect. And basically what this will do is bring up this little scissors, and we're going to go and slice them wherever we need it. This is the equivalent of the razor blade in any editing software. So let's go and cut these down into these subphrases. Many things. So many things, just go a bit earlier, do a cut. Many things in life. Many things in life are not what they seem. Are not what they seem. Let's go a bit that way. So I am just going to leave it as it is, and I'm going to move it to a line. I'm just going to cut them. I'm not going to cut the in-between pauses. I am not human. I am not human. But I speak like a human. But I speak like a human. I am not an android. I am not an android. That wasn't a good take, was it? But I look like an android. But I look like an android. Do I? No. What does that make me? What does that make me? I let you determine that. Have a nice day. And there you go. So in order to remove this little cutting tool now, you have to right-click and say Cut Connect again. So we deactivate this button here. We have 1 clip, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and have a nice day. 9. And I think the dialogue has been cut down to the proper components. We're going to test it one more time, just make sure that we're cutting the proper parts from this. So let me delete the beginning. I don't need the beginning, and you can see the character is still now because there's no animation data here. Many things in life are not what they seem. Good. I am not human, but I speak like a human. So phrase 2. I am not an android, but I look like an android. So that's phrase 3. What does that make me? What does that make me? I let you determine that. Good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are 4 phrases. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Good. And there we go. So I can delete the last part. So the data I have here, all these little clips, are the sub-phrases I have. So phrase 1, phrase 2, phrase 3, phrase 4, and the have a nice day component. And these align now with the motion of this character over there. Good. So let's do a couple of things to make our lives a bit easier. Number 1, we can see all the ghosts, all these pink little stick people. And these are indicators of the last frame of each clip, so you can see where each clip ends. I want to get rid of these. So go select this little folder here, and in the Tag tab, you deactivate the Show Motion Clip Ghosts. There you go. That's number 1. And the next thing I want to do is go and select all these, and you can see that we get a different attribute manager with some colors. So I'm just going to deselect the first one and start changing the colors. Deselect, change the color, deselect, change the color. It just makes it easier for me to distinguish one from the other. Just by doing that, I'm going to cycle the colors around. Good. One more. Excellent. So now I can see clearly what each clip is. So at this moment, I've got my motion clips cut down pretty much with every component of each of my phrases. And now I need to align these to the other audio. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's begin by disabling the current audio because we're going to base the placement of these clips based on the new audio. So go back to your timeline here, select the sound, and go right here in the attributes and don't use the sound anymore. And let's just go back to this. So now we're going to have all the motion without any of the audio. Now let's go to this file over here. Let's select both the audio and the facial animation. I'm going to copy it, go back here, and I'm going to click outside and paste it. It's going to ask me for the textures. I'm going to say, yeah, make them absolute paths. And you can see that this is now huge. So let's go and set it back to 0.01, 0.01, and 0.01. And you can see the head is somewhere down here. And I can pick it up and move it close to the neck. I'm going to attach it later on, but for now, let's just have this roaming over here. And look at that. Speaking and the audio is here because now we have the new sound. The sound, it's called sound 1, and the sound is on, whereas the other sound is off. So now we want to align these motion clips to the new audio. So let's scrub here. I'm going to go closer. Many things in life. So this will go somewhere here. Let's see the hand motion. Many things in life. And what I could do here is I can speed it up or slow it down. That's one thing. And when I drag one clip over the other, you will see that it creates a transition automatically. So I can blend if the body motion is faster or slower, and I can blend between these two. So the system is quite powerful. So let's do this again. Many things in... So I want to bring the hands up a bit faster. Many things in life. Many things in life. And are not what they seem. Let's see. And you can look at this. There's little blending here, which adjusts automatically so that one motion and the other motion blend seamlessly. Many things in life are not what they seem. Good. I am... There you go. The I am not... I need to bring... I am not. Let's see. I am not a bit faster. I am not a human. Right, good. Human, but I speak. But I speak. I want to bring the speak a bit further inside. I'm not a human, but I speak like a human. Good. Let's go. I am... Let's see. I am not an android, but I look... I think the look is here. I'm not an android. I'm going to speed this up a bit. Blend it. I am not an android. A bit slower. Oops, undo. Just drag this. Android, but I look like an android. There you go. Bring this in here. What does that... Make it a bit slower. What does that make me? What does that make me? I'll let you determine that. Let's do this. Have a nice day. Excellent. I can just slow this down ever slightly. Determine that. Have a nice day. Excellent. So all I had to do is speed up or slow down some of these. Mostly, I think I was slowing them down. Anyway, and just drag them on top of each other, and the motion blends. So now we have a performance, body capture performance, that aligns pretty well with the new audio. Let's play it one more time to see if everything is nice and tidy. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not a human, but I speak like a human. I am not an android, but I look like an android. What does that make me? I'll let you determine that. Have a nice day. That is fantastic. To close off this video, because I'm going to follow this up over the next week with the process of attaching our final rig to one of the rigs we have available from the Asset Manager. So the last thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach the head to the neck. So I don't need the timeline anymore. I don't need that. And what I'm going to do is figure out which object this is over here. So I select it in my viewport, press S with my mouse over here to open the hierarchy. And just to remember what it was, because I will forget that it's called neck. If you forget like me, you just go and add it to a new layer. So now it's labeled with a little color. So I'm going to take the head, and you will see that this GRP transform is moving based on my head motion when I was using the face cap. Now, what I want to do is, instead of this motion, I want the neck to define the motion of the head, because I want the body capture to drive the orientation of the head and so forth. So I'm going to go to this GRP transform, and I'm going to remove these keyframes, and I'm going to right click just to zero everything out. Excellent. And then I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to add from the rigging tags a constraint tag. And in the constraint tag, I'm going to activate the transform and drag the neck in here. And you can see now it's stuck over there. This person has a very short neck. So what you could do is go to the offsets and untwirl them if they're closed. And you can move this up a bit and a bit to the front to align it. And of course, you can go and change the scale and all that. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this so it looks a bit funny. Excellent. So rewind, press play. Many things in life are not what they seem. I am not a human, but I speak like a human. I am not an android, but I look like an android. What does that make me? I'll let you determine that. Have a nice day. Excellent. We can go and add our secondary animation if we feel like it, but I want his head to be a bit stiff because it is some sort of android. So at this point, I'm going to end this tutorial, but I'm going to continue down this thread because I haven't posted tutorials for a long time. I was very busy and I am very lazy, and those are really bad combinations. And I think that the Rokoko suit opens a new world of opportunities for anyone that wants to do any sort of character animation. I've done a lot of tests to come to this point, and believe me, we've got some interesting things coming, all the way to live capture feedback inside Cinema 4D while you're performing in real time and stuff like that. So first of all, I want to thank the people from Rokoko that sent me the suit and gave me the opportunity to play around with one of the most exciting new technologies out there, which now can be easily called affordable as well compared to the past. Now, what I'm going to do in the next few videos that are going to drop maybe a week after this one is to take this animation now and put it on a model. And I'm probably going to use from the Asset Manager the mannequin, this puppet over here, just like that, because it's there. And I'm going to show you how to make some adjustments so that you have accurate motion, how you can add secondary animation on top of that. We're also going to deal with the facial capture and how to use the pose morphs to drive faces that are not exactly aligned to humans. Imagine an animal that's talking, or a raptor that's talking. Wink. And yeah, we're going to see more things because I find the whole convergence of extremely good software and extremely good and affordable hardware is driving us in directions that were previously unimaginable in terms of time management. Again, I have to emphasize this. The result of what you saw in this tutorial, other than the recording myself and talking about these things and figuring out some problems. But actually doing it will take you an hour, and that includes doing the body performance, doing the face performance, and then bringing everything into Cinema 4D, fixing any issues with sliding feet and stuff like that. And it's absolutely amazing. Under other circumstances, to pull off something like this will take weeks, not an hour, not 2 hours, but weeks. So don't forget to stay up to date, subscribe, click that notification bell, follow me on Twitter at NosemanGR, and you can ask any questions in public because the questions feed tutorials and stuff like that. I want to thank Rokoko once again for sending the suit and giving me an opportunity to test this amazing new technology. And I promise you, this is not the last time I'm going to be working with this. I'm having a lot of fun. It looks good on me. I'm probably going to wear this going out for dinner one day. And I don't know, maybe I'll get some interesting reactions from people. See you around.